Donald Trump had always been known for his boldness, but this day felt different. He had just received a handwritten letter from a small town farmer named John Mitchell. The letter was simple: Mr. President, please visit my farm, see what we go through. Most assumed Trump would ignore it, but against all expectation, he said yes. The presidential convoy rolled down a dusty country road, stopping at John's modest farm. Secret Service agents scanned the land with sharp eyes, but John stood tall, wiping his calloused hands on his overalls before stepping forward. Mr. President, I appreciate you coming, but I won't sugarcoat my words. Trump smirked. I wouldn't expect anything less. John wasted no time. Sir, politicians make promises, but farmers are drowning. Prices drop, fuel costs rise. Are you here to listen or just to talk? Trump raised an eyebrow. I respect farmers, but real change takes time. John shook his head. We don't have time. Our land is failing. Families are breaking under debt. Corporations are buying us out while we fight just to survive. The air grew heavy. Secret Service agents shifted uneasily, sensing the tensions. Just then, John's wife Liza stepped in. Gentlemen, come inside. At their worn wooden table, Liza placed down a plate of warm cornbread. Mr. President, taste what struggling America really is. Trump took a bite, chewing slowly. It's good, he admitted. But why can't you succeed? John leaned forward. Because corporations control the market. They buy land, drive prices down, and crush small farmers. Hard work isn't enough anymore. Trump tapped the table. That's capitalism. John's jaw tightened. There's a difference between fair competition and being crushed. Outside, John showed Trump his cracked, dirt-stained hands. These hands have worked this soil since I was a boy. My father's hand looked the same, and his before him. But now, hard work alone doesn't keep us alive. Trump studied them in silence. For the first time, he looked less like a politician and more like a man, faced with a truth he couldn't ignore. John's voice cut through the silence. We don't want handouts. We don't want speeches. We want fairness. Protect the small farmers, the backbone of America. Trump let out a breath. So what do you want from me? John looked him straight in the eye. Real change, not words, action. Trump smirked faintly. Ever driven a tractor? John raised an eyebrow, then led him to his old John Deere. Climb up. Trump hesitated, then pulled himself into the seat. Slowly, he steered the heavy machine across the field. His hands tightened on the wheel. It wasn't easy. John leaned close. That is what feeds America. This isn't a business, it's life. Trump nodded slowly. For once, he wasn't talking, he was listening. That night at the family's table, John spoke again. You have heard our struggles, Mr. President. But when you leave, will this just be another visit? Another forgotten promise? Trump set down his fork. I don't forget conversations like this. John studied him carefully. We will see. 2 weeks later, as John repaired the fence, his phone rang. Hello, this is John. A familiar voice answered. John, it's Donald Trump. John nearly dropped the phone. Mr. President, I didn't forget you. Something is in motion, and the line clicked. For the first time in years, John felt something unexpected: hope. A month later, John sat in his truck listening to the radio. Breaking news: the president has signed an executive order to protect small farmers from unfair corporate practices. John froze. Lisa rushed outside. Did you hear? He stepped out of the truck, speechless. He actually did it. Farmers across the nation felt the shock. For once, a president had listened. Soon after, a black SUV rolled into John's driveway. A Secret Service agent stepped out. Mr. Mitchell, the president would like to see you. Minutes later, Trump himself appeared, extending a hand. Told you I wouldn't forget. John shook his head, smiling. I will admit I'm impressed. Trump smirked. I don't just talk, I deliver. Walking the fields together, Trump asked, what else do farmers need? John didn't hesitate. Better infrastructure, affordable equipment, fair trade policies, support for irrigation. Trump nodded. All right, let's make it happen. John squinted. You are so serious. Trump smiled. You should know by now. I don't joke about winning. For the first time in years, John saw a future where farmers might finally win. News outlets swarmed the story. Why did the president return to your farm? One reporter asked. John shrugged. Because for once he actually listened. Critics called it a publicity stunt, but John disagreed. He cared when no one else did. Months later, John was invited to the White House. He sat at a table filled with policy makers and experts. But when he spoke, the room went quiet. We don't want favors. We don't want empty promises. We want fairness. If small farmers fail, America's food supply fails. Protect us and you protect the nation. Trump leaned forward. You have become the voice of farmers, John. And I want you on my advisory board. John was stunned. Me? I'm just a farmer. Trump smiled. Exactly. That's why you belong here. Back on his farm months later, John watched his children running through the fields. Lisa stood beside him, smiling. You changed things, she said softly. John shook his head. We did. From one letter, one visit, and one honest conversation, a movement had begun. Farmers, long ignored, finally had a voice. And John, he was still just a farmer, but now his word mattered. Because sometimes the smallest voices create the biggest change.